Well, it looks like the clock's just a minute or two from here, the one that I'm looking at, past 6:30. So go ahead and call this meeting to order and ask for the roll to be called, please.
Marsh. Patterson.
Here.
Petrie.
Present.
Furtado. Goss.
Here.
King. Esri.
Present. Thank you, Tammy. We do have a quorum. Move on then to the approval of agenda and addenda. Is there, moved by Mr. Goss, seconded by Ms. Petrie. Is there any additions or corrections to be made? Don't see any. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Thank you. That approved. Move on then to the approval of the minutes from the ELEC committee meeting, August 10th, 2017. Is there, moved by Ms. Petrie, seconded by Mr. Marsh? Or, I just heard, sorry, Stan, I just heard Mr. Marsh first. Yeah, about that buzzer, whoever's like Quiz Bowl. Any additions or corrections, discussion on the minutes from the August?
Just thank Tammy again.
Yes, thank you, Tammy. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Thank you. That is approved. Move on then to public participation. We have, the general rules are we need to keep it to about 5 minutes. Looks like we only have 2 to speak tonight, so we could go a little over. Would also mention though, since I know they're both here for the 8A, if you wanted to stick around during the meeting, we'd potentially be willing to talk to you some more. But first up, we have Joe Pizzula. Yes, please, and turn on the microphone, and would also please ask you just to state your name and where you live for the record.
I'm Joe Pisula. I live at 304 Ira Street in Urbana. I'm a resident in Edgewood subdivision, a member of the homeowners association that was involved in the case regarding Stonetown Woodland Acres Mobile Home Park. Really, I don't have any formal comments other than to say I'm available for questions. We had meetings on June 29th, I think August 14th. The initial submittal that the petitioner had, we had some concerns, the association did. We had several meetings. I would say good dialogue between ourselves and the petitioner. The ZBA basically said to the petitioner, talk to the homeowners association, and they did I think a full faith effort to do that. They've offered to put up a fence and all that's in your packet and all that kind of thing. So again, I'm representing, I've been appointed to volunteer to represent the association. I think the general consensus is not unanimous, but the general consensus is a lot of the concerns that were there before have been alleviated with the improvements that the petitioner has proposed with the gated entrance you see there and the fence. So that's all I have. If anyone has any questions.
At this point in time, we don't really interact, but later on we get to the on the agenda, which it's a pretty short agenda tonight. So then we'll potentially have some questions for you if you stick around.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. And we also have Mr. Mike Friend, but I know he's mainly here for questions as well. I don't know if you want to say anything at this point in time. Feel free to if you want to.
Sure.
Mr. Mike Friend.
Okay.
It was on. There you go.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so Mike Friend from the Farnsworth Group, and as you'd referenced, and so I appreciate Joe speaking briefly here, and I think that he's really accurately characterized the situation, and there was a substantial good, positive dialogue initiated by Stonetown with the Homeowners Association, with the local fire protection department, the Edgecott Fire Protection Department, and really a concerted effort made to work together with the local residents and, have a memorandum of understanding. And I think that, as Joe has said, that nothing's unanimous, but really at the conclusion of that dialogue and those meetings, really the only request that was left is if they could participate in picking the color of the fence. So that tells you that I think that's just indicative of the fact that there's been great dialogue and a concerted effort by the applicant to interact with and work through concerns. And I'm here to answer questions if you have them, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Okay, no, don't see any other public. I know Mr. Hartman's with Mr. Friend as well. Hello, Mr. King. Move on to communications. Are there communications from anybody need to be brought before? Ms. Petrie?
Well, Ms. Monty isn't here, and just for the record, I want to applaud her efforts in getting the information out about the upcoming recycling to such an extent, at least on my Facebook. There were complaints, this is in quotes, that they couldn't register, and that is because it was so oversubscribed the minute it opened, which to me indicates meeting a very high need in our communities. So, Susan, you're not here, but thank you for all the efforts.
I concur, Patsy. Thank you. I was just going to make a couple quick comments. First off, of course, I'm sure pretty much everybody knows, but the Kickapoo Rail Trail is now open. So we've had Mr. Dan Olson from the Forest Preserve here before speaking about it, but that's open, and I drive by and see people running and biking on it and such. And then just the other, we are getting into harvests. It's going to be here pretty darn quick. In fact, I've seen some beans be already cut down south of Pasodum. So you're out and about in the country, start paying a little more attention to the farm equipment out on the roads. To anyone who might be watching this, especially most people in here, I know maybe you've already heard me say that, but any other communications before we move on? Seeing none, we'll move on then to line 7 for information only. We have the online registration, which opens September 5th, 2017 for October residential electronics recycling collection. Mr. Hall.
Okay, Susan Monte asked me to read this message, which is part of a longer message that is actually on the registration site, but she thought that some folks might appreciate hearing this in the meeting. The fall registration is now full. With the exception of cathode ray tube TVs, there are local options available to recycle most electronics year-round. Click here for more info, and the address you would click there is year-round recycling options. Lastly, at this present time, the only way you can get rid of old cathode ray tube TVs is at these collection events. If you have a TV to get rid of, please call 217-403-4780, and we can place you on a waiting list for the October collection. What that actually means is the registration is full, but you can be put on a waiting list, and you'll be notified if any opening comes up, or you'll be notified at the next collection. So, Ms. Petrie, I think you're right. I think Susan is really doing everything possible to give folks a chance to recycle these residential electronics.
Mr. King.
Could you repeat that number one more time? Sorry.
Area code 217-403-4780.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on this? Glad to see, I guess, that it filled up so quick that we are meeting a need, but yet it'd be nice if we could have. I know we physically can't, especially at one collection event, but it'd be nice if we could. I guess wouldn't need that. We could lessen the need for it through maybe more events or something like that. But is what I would be trying to say. But okay, we'll move on then to 8 items to be recommended to the county board. We have A, zoning case 869-AM-17, requested by Stonetown Woodland Acres LLC, 720 South Colorado Boulevard, Suite 1150 North, or 1150 in, Glendale, Colorado 80246, represented by Dax Nolan, Vice President, 720 South Colorado Boulevard, Suite 1150 in, Glendale, Colorado 80246, and Agent Michael Friend, Engineering Manager for Farnsworth Group, 2211 West Bradley Avenue, Champaign, to amend the zoning map to provide for related special use permit zoning case 870-S-17 that is still pending at the Zoning Board of Appeals for the expansion and use of an existing non-conforming manufactured home park with 93 existing home sites and an additional 21 proposed manufactured home sites. The zoning map amendment in case 869-AM-017 is for the following portions of the subject property. Part A, change the zoning district designation from the R1 Single Family Residence Zoning District to the R5 Manufactured Home Park Zoning District for the eastern 150 feet of the subject property, which is the eastern 2.410 acres. Part B, change the zoning district designation from the B2 Neighborhood Business Zoning District to the R5 Manufactured Home Park Zoning District for the western approximately 160 feet of the subject property, which is the western 1.660 acres. Is there such a motion? Moved by Ms. Furtado, seconded by Mr. Goss. Discussion, or John, do you want to lead off with any more comments at this point in time? I guess.
Well, we tried to get all the important information in the memo, so I guess I'm here to answer questions too.
Ms. Petrie.
And the two gentlemen who graciously stayed if they'd come up so they'd be at a microphone.
You mean Mr. Friend and Mr. Hartman?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Well, the gentleman.
Well, or we could ask Joe up separate, I
Yeah,
guess.
right.
Yeah, if you have some questions. Go.
Yeah,
Would you like Mr. Friend up first?
yeah, that's
Okay.
fine. Well, both of them.
Okay.
First of all, I do want to compliment the fact that there was so much dialogue and resolution of the many concerns brought forth during the ZBA hearings. That's a very positive thing to have learned about. I didn't attend them, but I did learn about it. And so compliments to everybody who spent much time and effort and concern on that. And I haven't read the whole transcript from the ZBA, so this may already be solved, but I did go out and look at the sites. And when the fencing goes up, is there sufficient lighting so that the area that will be enclosed where the trailer park is, that it will be well lighted and clean lines of sight when that occurs in relationship to safety, especially at nighttime?
We have, my client has made several commitments to improvements in the existing facility, and there is lighting in the existing facility. I cannot tell you that I've made an analysis of that. I can tell you that we did do a photometric diagram and designed lighting in the expansion area, and that the lighting that we have designed exceeds the standards, the photometric standards that are included in the county zoning for the facility. And so I can speak with authority with regard to the proposed lighting. I mean, down to the light fixture model number, height, and everything in a photometric diagram included in a portion of the application. I did not analyze the lighting in the existing portion of the facility, and so I can't speak with authority about exactly what its condition is. Mr. Hartman might be able to offer more insight there. But I do know that in the expansion area, that what we're proposing exceeds the standard, meets or exceeds the standards that the county has.
Okay, I hope you do understand my concern, because when you go and look at the site, it's really very isolated, and it opens potential for some of the concerns that I did express. Is the lighting that is proposed just highlighting, or is it also highlighting with a shorter arm on the lighting so that there will not only be the highlighting, but then surface lighting.
What we have proposed is lighting that would be installed and owned by Ameren, and it would be leased, or they pay the lease payment, my client would. And so it's standard street lighting.
Okay,
with
so it
above-
doesn't have any shorter arm on it.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what you mean by shorter arm, ma'am.
Well, when I went through the area, there are a lot of dark corners and dark areas that tall lighting will not sufficiently illuminate, whereas, I don't know, here's street lighting like this, and then street lighting then can also have a shorter arm which focuses down on these areas here, like this. And that, I gather, is
Yeah,
not
we're
part
proposing
of the design.
standard street lights, and
Okay.
we've evaluated the photometric pattern and how many lumens are available throughout the entire park, okay?
Okay.
And so the photometric diagram that is in there shows how many lumens on on 20-foot spacings through the entire proposed expansion.
Okay.
And meets the standards for lighting that are in the ordinance. We perform the design in accordance with the ordinance to meet the lighting requirements.
Okay,
And so-
thank you.
Yeah.
I just make a comment. That's, your question's fine, Patsy, but they're a little more related to the actual special use permit. They are totally interrelated, but of course, the special use hasn't even passed ZBA yet.
I understand, but
yeah.
he's here and
Yeah,
I went
I
out
know.
to the
Yeah.
site,
I
so.
appreciate you asking the question, and
Just-
I wanted to thank you for your observation that my client really made a substantial effort to meet with the homeowners group, with Mr. Pasula and others there, and you're correct in that, and so thank you.
I was kind of just pointing that out to everyone who, again, here potentially, and also those especially maybe watching at a later date or something. But further questions for Mr. Friend or any other general questions at this point in time? And if not, did you have any questions for Mr. Pizzolo, Patsy, or anybody?
No, he heard my compliments, and please take them back to everybody. I know this has been a long process and an iterative process, and there was give and take all the way around. So again, thank you.
Yes, I'll just say I've attended both of the ZBA meetings. There is the one coming up the 14th of this month on the actual special use. I'm planning on being there, but yeah, there was a big group the first time, and they were all pretty, I'd say, kind of hot under the collar and upset with the idea. And the second meeting, there was a good, decent turnout, I'd say, for the second meeting. But yeah, I believe it's well said that, granted, again, you can't make probably everybody happy. I don't know how you could in something like this, but everything I'm hearing probably did about as good as can be expected. Yeah. Any further comments, discussion, questions? Mr. Friend, I believe we're done with you for right
Thank you,
now.
sir.
Thank you. So if we're ready to vote, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Thank you. That passes unanimously. We'll then move on to 8B. We have the authorization to seek various court orders against the property at 2218 East University Avenue, Urbana, pursuant to enforcement case ZN-17-03/21. We do have the resolution at our table. If you had a little bit of a chance to look through it, is there such a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Petrie, seconded by Mr. King. Discussion on this, or John, do you want to start off?
Yeah, I'm sorry that we got this to you so late. We just inspected this property last Tuesday, and we were in court yesterday with the same owner for a different property, and part of the state's attorney's office logic was to try and get this other property, make it a relevant issue in the case that we were at court on yesterday. So Busy time in our office, keeping up with all of the activities of the state's attorney's office, trying to clean up the dangerous buildings, but that's why this comes to you sort of late. This is a relatively small building. It's a house. We have gotten complaints about it since, I think, since earlier than 2012. It's a house and 3 outbuildings. 2 of the outbuildings have already collapsed. The house has developed severe water damage, and it's getting worse all the time. It's overgrown. The overgrown vegetation doesn't let it dry out, and it just keeps getting worse. There's several abandoned vehicles on the property, although there's only about half as many as there used to be. So anyhow, the state's attorney got this to me today, so they're continuing to push ahead on these things. We would appreciate this going to the county board so we could keep moving ahead, but if you feel you need more time, then you should take it.
Thank you, John. Discussion, Ms. Petrie?
Question, do you have any sense of the cost to do this? And then also remind us about the 2 buildings on Dodson. Those, when I was doing the other R&D, I went by those, and you do have a lot on your plate.
Well, nothing has happened on Dodson yet. We do have the invitation to bid nearly ready to send out, but it's kind of gotten pushed aside for the past week. Given the size of this house, I would expect a demolition and cleanup to be certainly no more than $15,000. We would have to come back for approval for that. And in fact, we'd have to actually send it out for bid before we even had a firm idea of how much that might cost.
I just wanted to ballpark.
Yeah.
May I follow up? Previously, you very cleverly engaged with the Fire Institute on some of our issues. Is this one of them, or is this too small a project to engage them?
Well, this is small. We're actually hoping that since we have the same owner in court for 2 other buildings, that there might be,
They have a fire sale.
well, there might be an extra inducement for the owner to take care of this, given that it's rather small. We're also seeking sizable fines on the other 2 cases, and so the county should have more than enough to clean this up when and if we get those fines. You know, being authorized for a fine is one thing. Collecting it is the harder thing. So who knows? We are hoping the county will not have to put any more cost into this property. But that, you know, have to wait and see how that happens.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Marsh?
Sir, do you have any sense for the value of a clean lot when we're done?
I don't, because this lot is, actually, it's in an area where I can imagine it being rezoned to a business use. It's a full acre, so you could make good use of it. The fire protection district next door could probably make great use of it. So I have a feeling that this might be worth, the better use might be not just residential, but I have no idea what that use might be, given the location.
Mr. Weibel?
A couple questions, John. This is just south of Woodland Acres, right? Also, do you have any idea how long the property's been abandoned?
It's since before 2012. The last time we've identified anyone living there was around, I think, 2006.
Okay. And also, you described there being garbage there. Is that mostly by the owner, or are people dumping there also?
You know, I have not seen any evidence of people dumping on the street.
So it's
but,
mostly things falling apart and things that are left there then?
things that are left, like, I don't know how the 4 abandoned vehicles that have been removed, who removed them, how they were removed.
Things happen at night sometimes.
Yeah, that happens here.
Go ahead.
There
Ms.
is garbage in front of the Dodson places, at least when I did my R&D.
And we put a fence around the front of it, but of course, that doesn't stop dumping.
Further discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Thank you. That passes unanimously. And we're up to 9. We have other business. We have the semi-annual review of closed session minutes. The email I got said basically there's no minutes, closed session minutes from the ELEC committee at this point in time that are ripe to be opened or anything. So if someone would, if someone would care to make such a motion, I guess, to keep them as is, status quo, keep them closed.
I would move to keep the minutes closed that are recommended.
Moved by Mr. Goss, seconded by Mr. King. Any discussion on that? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Thank you. Oops, I shut my microphone off. That passes. Chair's report, I have nothing really, other than, I guess, what I said during the comments. Designation of items to be placed on consent agenda. We have 8A and B. And at this point in time, would someone care to move to adjourn? Moved by Mr. King, seconded by Ms. Furtado. Oh, Ms. Petrie.
I'm noting by the clock that we didn't beat facility. They did it in 18 minutes on Tuesday night, so the challenge bar is up there.
With that, we're adjourned. Thank you all.